Hello, class. Um, Happy to post discussion on this week. Definitely enjoyed the TED Talk by Todd Weir, and then also the blog post Convergence by Darcy. Um, as I look at and think of the question about in what ways do I see convergence, so the historical beliefs of worldview influence how I see, interact with the world, and how it shaped my identity. Well, for beginners, I think it is true that environment of any kind, whatever it is going to play a role in what we become, what we do, and what we don't do. Um, and I say this because, I grew up with a very violent and alcoholic father, but I never became that. So I think in that example, I could say that a big part of my identity, my experiences played a role. But if I would have never lived certain experiences, would I have become an alcoholic? I mean, that's the mystery and unknown of humanity. So I can't answer that. But what I can say is that everything we touch, feel, see, hear, smell, taste is intended to shape us in ways that in part we understand, and in many ways we think we understand, but we won't know until we experience them. So, from my perspective, I'm a big believer that yes, um, there are many things that I lived, experienced, was exposed to that play a role in what I do say and believe. But there are many things that also don't. And there is, I think, what I would call the mystery of humanity as well as the realities of it. And when I speak about that, I'm referring to that there are many things we can look back to and probably rationalize and see. And the TED Talk and also the blog post clearly illustrate the, the history we recorded about humanity behaving this way. And there's probably, this isn't the last time there'll be a convergence of some sort, a conflict of some sort between people, whether there is technology or there is no technology, whether there's literature or no literature. Humanity, since the existence of humanity, I am a big believer that there was some form of idea, opinion, and conflict. And I think that's what I mean by the mystery of humanity. Because I feel that for me in particular, as much as I want to believe that the things that I experienced shaped me, I also like to believe that the things I didn't experience also shaped me, whether I lived them or not. And there are many things I read about and go, thank God that, I never experienced that or this wasn't my story. But I still feel um, and understand the pain of others that I personally maybe didn't live. And so I think this goes back to that mystery where I believe that there is a bigger essence that sometimes can't be explained, um, but we can definitely maybe describe. Recently I was watching a TED Talk or it was a TikTok post by someone on my LinkedIn, and it was a man somewhere in Spain giving some form of an instruction, and I just remember the words. and he said something along the lines that um, life needs to be about compassion and feeling for others what you're not necessarily living yourself. And so he gave the example of seeing someone in pain or in the street and having compassion, like caring and feeling and being moved to do something. Because we live in a world where we desensitize so much. And I think throughout history, all of these worldviews, all of these opinions simply do that. Like they disconnect us from the realities of humanity. And we forget that what we have to do is be compassionate, no matter what we think, what we believe, what our worldview is, whether we like this more than the other or where our money's going. So I think that life is more for sure than these worldviews, for sure than any experience we may be going through as generations, societies, or communities, or even countries. Wars are not new, fights are not new, conflicts not new, differences are not new. So, in that, I would say that for me, the things I've experienced have shaped my identity, but the same impact I've had, the things I've not experienced and I've yet to experience. Thank you, everybody.